What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bryce, and today I'm going to be in chapter 27 of the Parker Inheritance. Let's begin. Chapter 27. Chip Douglas. July 31st, 1957. Chip slung his duffel bag over his shoulder and rushed out of the pool locker room, the same locker room that Milo Stanford would use 60 years later. Chip's hair was wet, and his shirt clung to his damp skin. He paused to reach under his pant leg and scratch at the red splotches on his calf. He hadn't put on enough sunscreen during his shift. He'd pay for it come tomorrow, but he wasn't going to worry about it now. He hesitated once he passed the pool's wrought iron fence. Glenn Allen and some of the other lifeguards, his old teammates, remained in the parking lot with Glenn's truck idling beside Chip's Chevy. "Looking good, Chip," Billy Maynard said as Chip neared them. "Got a hot date? Me and Penelope can double. Get a real car and some real money. I'll consider letting you date my sister," Glenn said through his open window. Billy had had a crush on Penelope Allen for years, though she never gave him the time of day. Chip could empathize. "Aren't y'all late for practice?" Chip asked. "Coach Turner's gonna have a fit. It's the middle of the summer," Glenn said. He revved his engine. What's he gonna do? In the year that Chip had been away at college, Glenn had started to sound a lot like his older brother. "It's your funeral," Chip said. Glenn stepped out of his truck. "You off to help the coloreds?" Chip's fingers tightened around the strap of his bag. "I'm off to help my father." "Who is helping the colored kids?" "It's his job," Chip said. "It's what he's supposed to do." "Yeah, but it ain't your job," Harold Buckner said. If Chip had to, he'd figure he could take Glenn in a one-on-one fight. He wasn't so sure about Harold. Know what I think?" Harold continued. "I think you like it." "What if I do?" Harold fished his tin of snuff from his back pocket and pinched off a piece. "How about that? You went off to that fancy college and came back a darky lover." He tucked the tobacco in his mouth, between his cheek and jaw. "That's what happens when they let them use the same water as civilized people. You start to become contaminated." "Good thing they can't swim here yet," Chip wanted to add. "They can't swim here yet." Billy cleared his throat. He had moved to the bed of Glenn's truck, his racket in hand. His affection for Penelope aside, Billy was clearly the most level-headed of the three boys. "We could use your help, Chip." "I can't play," Chip said. "You know the rules. Coach Turner and Big Dub had agreed to let this year's graduates participate, but no one older." "But you've seen them in action," Glenn said, now leaning against Chip's Chevy. "You know their weaknesses." "Y'all sound nervous," Chip said. "Think you're gonna lose?" "We ain't gonna lose," Glenn said. "But we want to beat them bad. Teach them a lesson." Chip shook his head. "You guys will be fine, and don't forget this is supposed to be a friendly game." "I guess that's a no," Glenn said as he stepped away from Chip's truck. "And Chip, there ain't nothing friendly about this game." Chip looked at himself in his rearview mirror, then patted down a tuft of hair at the top of his head. He had been to tennis practice at Perkins twice that week, mostly to give pointers to his dad about the players. He was also hoping Siobhan would stop by. He hadn't seen her all summer. He wanted to show her how much he'd grown, how much he'd changed during his year away at college. He was so focused on getting to the school that he almost didn't see her walking along the street. But when he stopped to talk to a passing woman, she turned her head ever so slightly, just enough for him to catch a view of her beautiful brown face. "Siobhan!" Chip hastily pulled over. He was on Darling Avenue, the heart of Vista Heights. Barbershops, shoe stores, and other businesses lined the street. He could count the number of white people on 2 fingers. He'd been here before. Meals at PJ's, a shoe shine at the stand outside, but only with his father. He didn't belong here, but he didn't care. He wanted to be anywhere she was. She was still talking to the woman as he neared her. He didn't know how to explain it. She looked the same but different. Her hair was pulled into its usual ponytail, and her checkered dress looked like the same type of clothes she'd wear any other day. She carried a small bag. She turned and saw him. She seemed to falter for a second, then continued forward toward him. He realized it was her stance and walk that were different. She stood taller, moved with confidence. She was no longer a little dub. "Hey, Siobhan," Chip said. "It's good to see you." He hoped she would hug him, but she kept her distance. "For a while, I thought I wouldn't run into you all this summer." She smiled and offered him a small nod. "Well, here I am." She repositioned the bag. Now that she was closer, he could see that she was carrying shoes. "What brings you out here?" she asked. All of Chip's bravado melted away. I was headed to the school, but stopped when I saw you." He nodded toward her bag. "Can I carry that for you?" "Oh, He was already taking the bag from her. As he grabbed it, he noticed a thin metal bracelet around her wrist. "Since when did you start wearing jewelry?" She quickly brought her arm up and covered her wrist. "Maybe the same time you started shaving every day?" He grinned. Did that mean she noticed that he shaved? Did she think he cleaned himself up just for her? He had, of course. He just didn't want her to know that. "You taking these shoes to the store to get fixed?" "Just shine," she said. "I'll walk with you." The shoe shine stand seemed to only be busy during the lunch hour at PJ's, as people, mainly white people, would get their shoe shine while they waited for their food. Today, two older Negro men sat in their chairs above, though neither was getting a shine. Two teenage boys sat on the platform beneath them. "I heard you were helping to get the boys ready for the game," she said. "How do they look?" "Good, real good. You should come and see them. Daddy and I aren't really on speaking terms right now." Chip hoped she didn't see the surprise on his face. "And if you don't mind, I would appreciate you not telling them that you saw me," she said. "Sure, but why? Big Dub got you under lock and key." "He would if he could." They stopped at the shoe shine stand. The older men stood, but Chip shook his head. "Y'all can't stay here. Y'all can't stay there." He handed the bag to one of the boys sitting down. "We need these shine." "Thank you," Siobhan said. "But shouldn't you get out of the school?" "Haven't they started practice already?" "They're just warming up. I got plenty of time." He looked at the other boy, who was tall, lanky, and light-skinned. "Can you run into PJ's and grab us a couple of Cokes?" "Chip, really? I'm fine," she said. Chip fished some change from his pocket. He bypassed all the nickels and dimes before finally picking up a quarter and dropping it in the boy's hand. "Appreciate it." It was a whole 15 cents more than the Cokes cost. He hoped Siobhan would notice his generosity. The boy stared at the quarter as if he'd never seen one before. His first quarter. "Go ahead, boy." One of the men sitting in the chair said. "Get the young sir a drink." The boy curled his fist around the money, then headed into PJ's. "You decided about college yet?" Chip asked Siobhan after a moment, still leaning toward Howard or Hampton. "I'm not leaning toward anything. I've still got a year left." She wrapped her arms around her body. "Chip, really, you should go." "Why don't you ask me for one of those puzzles you can never solve?" "In a second. This is important." He wanted her to know he was too old for games. "Some of the students from Georgetown have been meeting with the Howard kids," he said. "They're excited about what Dr. King did in Montgomery. Change is coming, but much too slowly. I want to do something to make things happen quicker." "Like what?" Chip hadn't figured out that part yet. He had been reading books and had gone to some lectures, but that didn't seem like enough. "Maybe I'll go down to help protest." "That seems dangerous," Siobhan said. Before she could say anything more, the boy returned with their two uncapped Cokes. He offered the change to Chip, but he waved it off and took a long pull of his soda. "Try it," he said to Siobhan. "It's ice cold." Siobhan took a quick drink. "Thank you." Then she let out a breath. "Chip, Charles, you should head on to the school." She looked around the street, and after a second, he did the same. A few Negroes shot uneasy glances at them. A white man glared as his car rolled by. "I'll drop by the courts for a practice, or at least for the game," she said. "You can tell me more about school then." He nodded. Sounds good. He left hopeful he'd have another chance to prove his worth. Practice was in full swing by the time Chip reached Perkins High School. Four boys played against one another on two of the courts. Big Dub and Jackie Harris, one of the school's best players, occupied the third court. Jackie looked pretty fatigued, but Big Dub didn't seem tired at all. He waited for Jackie to take a sip of water and get back into position. Then Dub would fire another tennis ball across the net at him. Chip joined his father in the bleachers. What took you so long? His father asked. Had to make a quick stop. He nodded toward the court. How long they been out there? Just a few minutes, Adam Douglas replied after checking his watch, except for Jackie. Dubs had him out there for an hour already. His legs will be rubber by next week if they keep that up. From your mouth to Dub's ears, but ignore them for now. Watch the others. Chip studied the boys for the next two games, taking mental notes of what he saw. A year ago, he would have gone down there himself and tried to give pointers, but like he tried to tell Siobhan, he had learned a few things about race relations and his time away. Mordecai needs to open up when he's doing his backhand. Chip finally said he watched a few more volleys. Pratt looks good, but he gets too nervous. He's trying to hit an ace with every serve. Those courts at Wallace are too new. He's not going to be able to control the ball like that. His father jotted it down. Me or Doug will talk to them about it. Chip glanced at Jackie. The boy sat on the court, a towel draped over his head, while Big Doug squatted beside him. Chip couldn't tell what Doug was saying, but whatever it was, it didn't seem pleasant. Will they be ready? Chip asked. Hard to tell. They're good, but so are Tommy's boys, and we're playing on their home court. He took off his glasses. But that might be for the best. These boys don't need to win that game. It would mean so much to that team, Chip said. In the short term, yeah, it would be great for our boys. Give them some confidence in the long run. Confidence is a very dangerous thing for a Negro boy to have around here. Chip scratched the 3 blotches on his leg. I've been thinking more about what we talked about the other day. Maybe joining the NAACP or going south to help next summer. You keep thinking about that while you work at the pool next year. But I didn't save up all that money just to have you. His father shook his head. You're not about to throw your life away just to impress a girl. Facts. Don't throw your life away just to impress anybody. Live for you. This doesn't have anything to do with Siobhan, Chip said. His father glared at him. This has everything to do with her. You've been hot for her since you were 13. Chip didn't bother trying to tell his father otherwise. It doesn't matter how I feel about her. It's still the right thing to do. Leave Siobhan alone, his father said. Leave all these Negro girls alone. Focus on your books. Get your degree. There's nothing wrong with dating a Negro girl. No. Chip stood up. His father was just as bad as the boys from the pool. They don't have diseases. My skin won't suddenly turn dark if... Boy, sit down. Chip must not have moved fast enough because a second later his father had grabbed his arm and forced him back to sitting. I don't know if this is the heat or if you got water on your brain or what, but you have forgot who you're talking to. Chip rubbed his arm. They aren't monsters. Don't you think I know that? I wouldn't teach here if I believed otherwise. He looked out at the court. Big Doug was showing Jackie how he wanted him to attack the net. Enough of this. Focus on the game. If you want to help somebody, help them. You know, you were just a little older than me when you married. Oh, what? So now you've gone from dating to marriage? His father asked, throwing up his hands. First, we're both white. Second, I was in the army, not some dumb college freshman. And third, your mama didn't have a daddy like Big Doug. He would kill you if he knew you were trying to court his daughter. He wouldn't have to know. Not if she went to Howard. Forget about Doug for a second. You think those good old boys aren't going to let you date each other? Let the both of you date each other? You two? It ain't even legal for a white person to marry a colored person in Virginia, much less anywhere else in the South. We could move up north. There are races there too. How are you going to protect her? What are you going to do when people spit at you, throw bottles at you, attack you, shoot? You don't even know how she feels about you. For all you know, she could be in love with another fella. I should at least try, right? You always said to go after what I wanted. I was talking about sports, education, not dating Negroes. His father rubbed his eyes. Tell me this. How many times have you gone to a Negro church? Once? Twice? Better yet, how does it make you feel? Do you sway with the music? Do you want to jump up and clap your hands? Or do you just want to sit there hoping that nobody's staring at you? Chip looked at his lap. That was answer enough. I don't care how many courses you take or how many books you read. You'll never understand what it means to be a Negro. You'll never face the discrimination they see every day. You'll never struggle the way they do. Now, enough talking. Here comes Dub. Chip shielded his eyes as Big Dub walked over to them. His racket perched on his shoulder. Siobhan had definitely inherited her height from him. Hey, Dub, Chip said, stretching out his hand. You're really working them today. Big Dub shook his hand. Got some pointers for the team? Yep, already gave them to Daddy. We can go over them tomorrow. Adam Douglas said as he stood. So what do you think, Dub? Big Dub frowned at the court. If we had 2 more weeks, we don't. Big Dub switched at his racket to his other shoulder. They're good, but not good enough. Chip's father glanced at his son for a second, sighed, then turned back to Dub. What do you think about bringing in your star player? No. I thought you wanted to win, Adam Douglas shrugged. But I get it. Winning ain't everything. Chip looked at both men. Who are y'all talking about? Your daddy wants me to let Reggie Bradley back on the team, Big Dub said. Reggie? Chip vaguely remembered hearing about the boy, but he couldn't place his face. I didn't think he was that good. He got a letter last year. He got a lot better last year. My bad. Adam said. He hesitated and said, turns out he was getting a lot of extra practice. Big Dub narrowed his eyes. We don't need Reggie. You want to punish the boy or do you want to win? Adam Douglas placed his hand on Dub's shoulder. Let me go talk to him. Dub flexed his fingers. His face had twisted into a scowl. I'll let him on if he wants to play, he finally said. But that doesn't mean I approve of him and Lil Dub's whatever. And I'm still not going to allow them to see each other. Chip tried to keep his face steady. Siobhan had been seeing this Reggie Bradley boy while he was gone. That's crazy. And his father knew about it. Clearly, Doug was mad about their relationship. Was that why Siobhan and her father weren't on speaking terms? Chip shook his head. He had just assumed. He just knew Siobhan liked him as much as she liked her. You know Reggie won't apologize, Adam Douglas said. Big Dub started back down the bleachers. Good. Neither will I. Chip waited until Big Dub had returned to the court. Why didn't you tell me? He whispered to his father. Well, I'm telling you now. Not that Reggie had any better chance than you. Dub's not about to let his daughter date some high yellow poor kid from Vista Heights. Boy doesn't even know who his daddy is. He checked his watch. I'll be home late. It might take a while to convince Reggie to come back. Why can't you just call him? Chip asked as they exited the stands. Exited the stands. I said excited. Exited. You can't excite something. That makes no sense. He didn't want his father talking to this boy. His rival. Everybody don't have a phone, son. Plus, he ain't even home right now. He took a few steps and then stopped. I don't think you're better than most whites, but you're not. I know you think you're better than most whites, but you're not. You mean well, but you're not. To be honest, it's as much my fault as yours. I allowed it. What? Chip said. That man is twice your age, older than me, his father said. He's the father of the girl you supposedly love. And you can't address him as Mr.? You can't call him sir or even coach? Chip replayed the conversation he just had with Big Dub. He tried to replay every conversation he had with the man. Tell your mama I'll be down on Darling Avenue, he said. I'll pick up some PJs for dinner. Chip frowned. I thought you were going to see Reggie. I am. He works at the shoe shine stand, his father said. Want some fish too? The daily special? As much as he loved food from PJ's, Chip wasn't thinking about fried croaker and jalapeno hush puppies. He was thinking about the boy at the stand, the tall, lanky, light-skinned boy he had asked to buy 2 Cokes. That boy, that was Reggie. And that was chapter 27. So tomorrow I'll be reading chapter 28, and that's about it. Peace out.